And when I finished school, there weren't very many jobs to be had, and the only job that was around was a job working for the Wall Street Journal in San Francisco.
In San Francisco.
So I spent a little while with the Wall Street Journal, then I worked for a small town paper in California. Later I worked for a plain dealer in Cleveland, and eventually
a big one and well known and respected.
And eventually ended up back at the Wall Street Journal in New York. And from there I worked at the Journal, and I worked later at Fortune magazine. And then in 1974, ABC News hired me to be television economic correspondent for ABC News, and that's where I've been since then. You can't imagine anything much more exciting than the day the stock market went down 500-some points, all the excitement that was involved there. So there have been a lot of interesting stories of that kind, battles, takeover battles between one company and another. Those are always interesting, fascinating. The fact that Washington, political developments that have to do with regulating the economy, tax reform, stories like that are very exciting, very interesting, but I think it would be pretty hard to have anything much more exciting than the recent crash in the stock market.
ABC, Dan, did you used to do business reports for them?
Well, yes. When I first started out, we were covering a lot of economic stories back in the days of 1975 because we were in the middle of a bad recession at that time. Later on, we broadened out and got into a lot of things. Probably the best thing that I did, the thing that would be likely to register in somebody's mind was for 3 years at ABC, we did something called Business Brief, which was a little 1-minute long summary of the day's business news that ran just before 9 o'clock every night in the middle of prime time. And because so many people are watching those shows at that hour, then there are probably a lot of people who might have seen me on Business Brief who didn't watch the regular news shows.
Father, and do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and your Savior? And will you, to the best of your imperfect ability, honestly try to live a sincere Christian life? If so, answer, yes, truly, with all my heart. Bless you. never been more excited and enthused about an announcement than the one I'm about to make right now. Today is the 947th telecast of the Hour of Power. Yes, in our 19th year of unbroken, uninterrupted ministry, Sunday after Sunday, we have become America's televised church of the air. And as I cross the country and meet people like you in many places, it's interesting. Some say, "Hi, Rev." Some say, "Hi, Doc." Some say, "Hello, Dr. Schuler." And some say, "Oh, hello, Father Schuler." And others say, "Good morning, Pastor." Now, of all the titles, the one I like most is Pastor. I really do. That's why I've never been more excited and enthused to send letters across America to my friends than this letter, which I have mailed to many of you most recently. And if you didn't receive it in the mailbox, it's so important, I want to give it to you now through this television message. The envelope asks a very important question. If we met today face to face, would you want to call me Pastor? And inside this envelope is something very important, very historic. It's never been done before by this church or any church. There is a brochure, beautiful, of the Crystal Cathedral, with an invitation, several photographs of myself that frankly I like most. And I like them most because they photograph me doing what I really love doing most, and that is being what I've always been for 37 years, a pastor, touching people, praying with people, blessing people. Now, if we met today, any place, would you like to call me Pastor? It would be the greatest honor I could receive, the greatest joy. Listen, for instance, to some of the letters I receive. I belong to the Presbyterian Church down the road, but I also watch you every Sunday, Madison, Wisconsin. Or, I'm a Roman Catholic, attend and support my church, but it was through your added help that my daughter found healing through her mental illness. Or, even though I'm Jewish, you instilled faith in me, which I've so desperately been searching for. Or from Atlanta, my Methodist minister husband and I record your services every Sunday. We find your possibility thinking messages meaningful in our personal and our professional life. Yes, what makes this Hour of Power television ministry so distinctive that it has been the first and is today the longest running televised church service in the history of the United States of America? There are three reasons. There are three answers. I write, first, we are a televised church service in its entirety. Secondly, we were established 19 years ago for the purpose of providing a one-hour church service experience for people who couldn't go to church. They had to be confined to the home or the hospital. 3, to provide some kind of a church service for people who could not find a church in their community that met their spiritual, emotional, and intellectual needs. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't say that this should be a substitute for the church. I have always resisted, in fact, I have resented the term electronic church. For a church is a fellowship where people can touch and hug and enjoy each other. You don't have much fun hugging a television set. And I urge you, have for 19 years, find a local church, strengthen it, and draw strength from it. And yet, after doing this for nearly 2 decades, I still get letters from you saying, I wish I could join your church, or I'm a member of a local church, but couldn't I join yours too? Now, here's my exciting announcement. Today, for the first time in the history of this television ministry, I am listening to you. I am responding to you. I am making available charter memberships in the Crystal Cathedral Church of the Air. And this is what we offer to you. First, you will be given an exclusive access telephone number to a toll-free telephone number that you can call me. I am training and extending a special blessing to persons who will be my associate pastors, who will be
Hi there, everybody. How are you today? This is Glendora, Cheerful Look at Life. And did I tell you about John Barrymore? He said to Jimmy Durrani, "Jimmy, you should play Hamlet." And Jimmy says, "Well, no, I like the big markets like New York." Did you hear about the man? His friend asked him for money so he could get a facelift. And so the man who loaned the money, he was asked, "Did you ever get your money back?" And he says, "No." He says, "I tried, but I don't know what he looks like." And the minister who gave funeral services, and he didn't like to write new funeral services, so he told his computer, he says, "Take out the name Mary, who was the last person who died, and put in the name Edna, who is this person who's died." And everything went along very, very well. And then it came the Apostles' Creed, and it said, "Jesus, born of the Virgin Edna." And Arthur says he has a very low opinion of himself. He says whenever the boss starts out somebody new in the company, he brings them to Arthur's desk so the new person can see how the company is built from the bottom up. And Billy was going to start jogging, and he was going to do it faithfully, but he got winded putting on his sneakers. And John says that he grew up to be the kind of a person that his mother never wanted him to play with. And the little boy said, "Daddy, what's an example of minority rule?" And Daddy said, "Having a baby in the house." "Dad, about the recital," he says, "there's going to be real people at the recital, not just parents." Marilyn said, "Mommy, if you give me $1, I'll be good." And Mommy says, "Of course not. You be like your father. He's good for nothing." And there was an earthquake reported to come to the area where this young couple lived, so they sent their young son deep into the interior where the boy would be safe. And the next day, they got an email from the uncle saying, "I'm returning the boy, send me the earthquake." Paul was told by his doctor, he says, "You mustn't shovel snow. You'll have a heart attack." So Paul went home and he said, "Son, will you please shovel the snow?" And his son said, "Yes, Dad, I'll start immediately." And Paul had a heart attack. Edgar said he had, before he was married, he had 3 theories about raising children. And now that he's married, he has 3 children and no theories. The babysitter, the couple came home and they apologized to the babysitter that they were late. And the babysitter said, "That's okay, if I had kids like these, I'd be late too. I got a really pretty furry creature over here. Let's see if she will come over and meet you. Will you come over and meet the people? Because you're so pretty." Huh? "Yeah, you're so pretty. Could you just come over?" "Yeah. And could you just say hello? Could you just say hello to the peoples? With those beautiful green eyes?" "Yeah." "Well, isn't that bad?" Oh, I wish you wouldn't do that. I wish you would smile. All right. So we'll try anything. A man, his son came home with all A's on his report card, and the man said, "He must get his brains for me." And his wife said, "He must. I still have mine." Did I ever tell you about the couple? Their teenage children, 3 teenage children, asked them what they wanted for their 22nd wedding anniversary. And they said, "Our own telephone." Joan and Ed named their first son after his father. Guess what they called him? Pop. The nursery school teacher had the children out for a walk, and she says, "At least, children, there is something we can all be thankful for. We are all free." And the little boy says, "I am not free, I am poor." And you heard about the couple that had identical twin daughters. So what did they name them? Kate and Duplicate. The lawyer says, "It gives me a grand and a glorious feeling to dispense legal advice." And his client says, "That's right. You give him a grand and he feels glorious." The ideal contract is a contract with words too big to pronounce and print too small to read. 2 cars collided. A third car drove up. A man got out of the third car. He said, "I saw the whole thing happen. I'm a lawyer. I'll take either side. And if you can't get a lawyer who knows the law, then for pity's sake, get one who knows the judge." Harold said to Bob, "I'm worried about my fourth daughter getting married." And Bob said, "Why?" And Harold says, "Well, on account of my first daughter married a man from Singleton, New Hampshire, and they had one child. And my second daughter married a man from Twin Oaks, New Hampshire, and they had two children. And my third daughter married a man from Three Rivers, Michigan, and they had three children." And Bob says, "So why are you worried about your fourth daughter?" And Harry says, "She's going with a man from the Thousand Islands." Important interview I probably ever had was Robert C. Wright, and I pushed all the wrong buttons. Robert C. Wright, who's the chairman and chief executive officer of NBC Television, or NBC Network. And wouldn't you know, and I spelled my name wrong, but that's the way it always goes. All right, this is the opening. So now we will play it. And then you stand by to record over here. You want to see that button? This button right here. It's what you call a hard edit. You just press the button. That's a hard edit. First, I have some things here to tell you that was sort of amusing. My husband sings in the choir, and the director of the choir works for the state, and the state gave everybody a bonus. They gave him 2 days off. And so the soprano said, "Gee, you're wonderful, you know." He said, under what sign were you born?" And the alto said, "Under the dollar sign." In 1987, I got a call from the David Letterman show. And they'd heard about a chat with Glendora on cable TV, and they invited me to be a guest on it. And so the negotiations went on, and finally it happened, and it was in September, I believe, of 1987.
It's Late Night with David Letterman. Tonight, Susan St. James, cable talk show host, Glendora.
And I went, and Rob Reiner was there. He was one of the guests. And another woman was there, and she talked so much and so long that poor David didn't have time for a chat with Glendora.
Glendora, who was supposed to be here tonight, will not be here tonight. She'll be here tomorrow night.
And so the next night I went, and Franklin, my husband, went with me, and he thought that David Letterman was very funny, and probably the best audience David Letterman ever had. And so we sat in the green room, and they caked makeup on me, which was just horrible. And then I went on the show.
Right, now, let's just bring out Glendora, shall we? Okay. My next guest believes in using television to spread her own special brand of happiness. She has made over 100 commercials. We have an example of one right here.
Hey, folks. How are you today? Just miserable, right? This is Glendora for delicious Worthington Veggie Links. Veggie Links by Worthington, folks, have no cholesterol. Delicious Veggie Links have fewer calories than regular hot dogs, and Veggie Links have no preservatives. I have no preservatives either. You see the wrinkles? Get your delicious Veggie Links at the Glendora Health Nook at...
No need to shop everywhere. Go straight to Twin Fair.
And her show, A Chat with Glendora, has featured guests like Robert C. Wright, the president of NBC. Folks, please welcome the happiness lady, Glendora. Hi, Glendora. How are you? Pleasure to see you. Please have a seat. Where are you from, Glendora? Where does this show take place? Where can people see this?
Oh, the chat with Glendora?
Yeah.
You can see this on Manhattan Cable TV and Paragon Cable TV, and you can also see it in Westchester, where all the rich people live, United Artists Cable.
And from where does it originate?
Well, of course, we originated at Mr. Wright's office and at Madeline Smithberg's dressing room and at Mr. and the chairman of General Foods and the chairman of Nestle's. We originated in people's offices. Some people come to our home, David.
I see.
The chairman of Colgate Palmolive Pete came to our home.
How do you get all of these people?
At 7 a.m.
Yeah. And I guess you were steamed, huh, that he was there so early?
Well,
the thing that interested me about him, David, was that he did his own marketing research, and he went through all of our cupboards to see if we had any Colgate-Palmolive products.
Mm-hmm. And what did the research turn up?
Zero.
Zero.
He didn't look under the sink cupboard where he would have found something. He didn't go into the bathroom cupboard. He really would have found something.
Now, tell me about the show. What is the format? When somebody tunes in, what do they see?
They see where were you born, where'd you go to school, what were your jobs, what is your present work like, and what advice would you give a youngster to get started on such a career today?
So it's an interview show primarily?
Yes, that's what we asked Mr. Wright.
Yeah, a half-hour show, is it?
Yes, isn't it amazing what the public will stand?
Uh-huh. And is it on once a week?
Yeah, oh yes.
And how many years have you been on the air?
Well, I've been on television 35 years, but that show's been on the air a year and 3/4.
Mm-hmm. Are you hoping that this particular show will maybe grow, perhaps expand, maybe get to a network status or a local TV station or something?
Well, I sort of doubt that.
You don't think that'll happen?
No.
Well, you sure have the wardrobe for it, you know. Well, let's take a look. Show me some of the footage. This is Robert Wright, the president now
Lord, yeah.
of NBC. You know, how did you get this guy to be on the show? Because we've asked him for years and years.
Have you?
Now. Oh yeah, and he won't come on the show. How did you get him?
It must be my good looks, huh?
Yeah.
Except I did talk to him over the phone, so that wouldn't have helped.
Uh-huh.
No, I figure this way, David. He's a nice man, and he does want to help the youth, and that's what this is all about.
He wants to help the youth.
Yeah, that's what this problem...
Have we heard anything about that? He wants to help the youth? Paul, did you hear anything about Robert Wright wanting to help the youth of this country?
Robert C. Wright?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to help the youth.
I think he just... I think he's just looking to balloon the stock prices. I think that's about all we're into here.
No, he's a very nice
Very nice man. All right, now let's take a look at a couple of seconds from his interview on your show, okay?
Okay,
We have that here? Yeah. Robert C. Wright and Glendora, helping the youth. It is a chat with Glendora.
And then we got General Electric acquired RCA. And then I came over from General Electric to become the president of NBC. And that's how I got here.
Oh, it's such an interesting career. And that's how you ended up in Fairfield, because I think General Electric's table was centered in Fairfield, wasn't it?
Yes, I actually never worked in Fairfield.
Oh, you never did?
No, I've worked... most recently, my office was in Stamford, Connecticut, before I came here.
Oh.
Although I live in that area, but I didn't work there.
I see, yeah. This is Mr. Robert C. Wright, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of NBC, and he'll be back in just a second and tell you what his work is like, to see if you'd like to aim for that as a career, and then he'll also give you some ideas how to get started in broadcasting in today's world.